In the previous chess puzzle, Bobby Fisherman and his friends escaped the whale, but they found themselves on an unknown island. After they got up and brushed the seaweed from their eyes, they turned and they saw a pirate standing in front of a bunch of treasure. He looked at them and said, "You guys aren't from around here, are you?" They said, "No, we just came from a whale. Where are we?" He said, "This is Puzzle Island. You have to be good at solving chess puzzles or you won't make it far or last very long around here." He said, "I actually have a map of the island, which I will give to you if the price is right. I accept payment in the form of gold." They said, "Well, we don't have any gold. Is there anything else we can do?" He thought for a minute and he said, "I'll tell you what. I'll make a deal with you. I'll present to you a chess puzzle. And if you can't solve it, you have to help me transport all of this treasure across the island. But if you can solve it correctly, I'll give you a map of the island." Bobby and his friends thought that seemed fair enough, and they said, "Give us the puzzle." The pirate grinned and then presented them with this position. He said, "It's white to play. Is it a win for white? Is it a draw? Or is it a win for black? And make sure you explain your thought process after you choose one of those options." The three fishermen looked at the puzzle for a moment, but before I tell you what they said, if you would like to pause at home, what do you think the correct answer is? If you had a chance to look at that, here's what the fisherman thought. The first fisherman said, "It must be a draw because we need to move our knight with a check because otherwise it's going to get captured. And then the king's going to move. And then we have to start pushing our pawn to try to create some chances for the queen. Black's going to bring the rook over. And then if we push, he's going to just take it and he'll be able to sacrifice the bishop. So I think we need to push this pawn. But then after bishop e4, we push it again. But it seems like the bishop simply takes our pawn. We can trade here, but ultimately we end up with this endgame, which is going to be a draw." At this point, the second fisherman said, "Nope, it's a win for white, and here is why. You ignore the knight, you push the pawn to c6. When black takes it, you push c7. The rook can't take your pawn because you get a queen. It has to move, let's just say, over here. And then after b7, you have the dual threat of both pawns, and whatever black does simply leads to a queen, and we win." At this point, Bobby was frowning, and he said to the second fisherman, "I'm afraid you are mistaken, friend, because if we just go back a little bit, if you play c6, after the rook captures, if you play c7, there's rook takes b6 check, and now you actually lose because the rook is in time to stop the pawn. Very easy win for black." But Bobby pointed out that instead of pushing c7, you can actually push b7, which is a better move because now you're threatening c7 next, and black actually can't stop it. For example, if they line up the bishop, you just push the pawn, and now you actually do have the dual threat here, and whatever the rook does, you're simply going to get a queen. And now you win. If this happens, you win. And if, I don't know, this happens, you still win. This is still a winning position. But Bobby pointed out there's something else that black can play to save the game after you play the move c6. What do you guys think Bobby saw? Black to play and save the game. Well, if you had a chance to look at that, instead of taking the knight and losing, Bobby noticed that they would play bishop to a6, lining up here. And now let's just take a look at what might, white do. If you push this pawn, you've allowed the bishop to blockade you. So like bishop to c8, and this is not good news for white. If you play b7, well, now there's bishop takes b7, just giving up the bishop. And if you take back, the rook takes and you actually lose the game. And the other option would be to throw in the check first. The king's going to move over. You take it. The rook's going to move over, and this is actually going to be a draw. The best you could do would be to get the queen. Black sacrifices, and even though you have the knight, this is not enough to checkmate. So Bobby pointed all of that out, but he said, "I think we're missing something." And he went back to the original position. He thought a little bit more, and he found a different line which was not yet considered by any of the fishermen. What line did he find? The move that he found was b7 right away, attacking the rook. And after it takes, now c6. And it's the same idea that you're getting ready to push, and black can't stop you. Yes, you could try to put the bishop somewhere, maybe over here on a6. Doesn't really matter. c7 happens, and black is in trouble. There's no way that black can stop a queen by one of these pawns, okay? And you can play around with this for yourself, but you will see that's the case. So at this point, the fisherman said to the pirate, "We think it's a win for white, and we just showed you all the lines." The pirate said, "Not so fast, you forgot about one thing. After b7, I'm not going to take your knight. I'm going to play the move bishop to e4. And what do you do now?" The fisherman looked at it for a moment and realized the clever idea here is that if they take the rook, then the bishop simply takes, and the bishop is always going to be able to sacrifice itself for the pawn, and white's not going to be able to win. So they looked for a bit more, and Bobby found a very nice line here to still win the game. What did he find? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, the move is c6, and it's kind of creating the same idea in that if you take the knight, well, then you push the pawn, and this is going to lead to a win. But there's also another point, and that's if the bishop takes, you can now capture it, and notice what you have going on here. The rook is almost stuck because of the knight and the pawn. However, it doesn't end here because rook to e8, and it looks like black is stopping you from getting the queen, and they're just going to sacrifice the rook and go into a draw. So what did Bobby find from this position that still allowed white to win? If you had a chance to look at that, the incredible move was king to g6. He's essentially saying, black has no good moves. You can't move here, I'll take it. 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 If you move anywhere else off of the rank, I'm going to get a queen, with the exception of rook to e6 check, which is what you have to play. Now, some of you might be saying, well, hold on a second. Can't the king just go over here? And actually, no, it can't, because of another crazy idea. If you would like to pause, what's white going to play in this case? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, it's knight to e7 check. And the point is that the rook can't take you, or you get the queen. But if the rook doesn't take you, you're going to loop the knight over to c8, blockading the rook. And now it can't stop you from becoming a queen next move. There's nothing that the rook can do. So that's the idea, and that's why the king can't move over. So the only move for black is rook to e6 check, forking these guys, but we don't really care. We're going to play king to f5, and of course, black doesn't have time to take this because we get the queen. However, black can go back here, and once again, we have to find another nice move. What's the winning move for white? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, it's king to f6, and it's the same idea as before. We're putting black in Zugzwang, where they have to move, but they don't want to move, but they no longer have rook to e6 check. We simply take it. And again, the rook has nowhere good to move to. The only thing black could do would be to slide the king over, and we can finish off the game with knight to e7 check. Again, it's the same idea. If you take it, we can get a queen, or we can take the rook, either way. And if you don't take it and you move your king, knight goes to c8, blocks the rook can't do anything, and then white gets the queen and wins the game. At this point, the pirate was a bit annoyed that they successfully solved it, but he did keep his end of the bargain, and he presented them with a map of Puzzle Island. Here is what it looked like. Bobby and his friends looked over the map and were rather overwhelmed by the size of the island and all of the different locations on the map. They were about to ask the pirate where they should go next, but when they put the map down, he was gone. He had vanished, and you'll have to tune in next time to see where the fisherman went next. By the way, guys, going forward, I will be putting timestamps down below, so if you like the fisherman story, you can keep watching that, but if you don't, you'll be able to skip straight to the puzzle, because I know it's not for everybody, but I think most people said they have been enjoying it, so we'll probably keep going with that for a little while. All right, guys, I'll see you next time, and as always, stay sharp, play smart, and take care.